Rise and Shine Rwanda. It's Thursday, the 10th of December.
Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Ivan Magwene.
And me, Yvette Shimbusho.
Over the next hour, we'll bring you all the latest news, sports and business headlines from here in Rwanda and of course around the world. Of course, as usual, we always start with Yvette. I know a lot is going on in business. What do you have for us?
Well, in regional news, we're having issues with accounts. So the accountants at least the financial accounts in some of the firms in Kenya are not true. So they cannot be accounted for. So that means there's fraud and there's corruption.
Of course.
So that's not good.
That's not good.
And I'll tell you more about that.
All right, Sherry, what's in the lifestyle?
In lifestyle, we are yet to see the person who is going to go to Ibiza for the Bonds Challenge. So all the 7 weeks have been completed and there is a finalist for every week. So we'll talk more about that.
And of course, Moses, I know it has been a week of the Champions League, a lot of drama going on, sadness to some fans. But what do you have for us?
You just speak some of the thing. But in regional Africa sport news, Sierra Leone now are declared Ebola-free. The epidemic Ebola. Now they are allowed to host some of African football in their own country, which means now CAF has recognized that there's no more problems. They can host matches. Things that they have not been doing since last year. So more to talk about it, and of course, sports at home and abroad. More to talk about.
All right, there you had it from Moses. Well, all that and more still to come, but first, Rise and Shine, story of the day. And now, the 13th edition of the National Dialogue Council, commonly known as Umushyikirano, is scheduled to run from December 21st to 22nd in Kigali. The dialogue will provide an opportunity for Rwandans to articulate their choices for the future they want while moving towards the achievement of globally endorsed development goals. But first, let us take a look at a report I compiled for you. The 13th edition of the National Dialogue Council, commonly known as Umushyikirano, is scheduled to run from December 21st to 22nd in Kigali. This dialogue will provide an opportunity for Rwandans to articulate their choices for the future they want while moving towards the achievement of globally endorsed development goals. Provided by the Constitution, the National Dialogue Council is a Rwandan homegrown initiative which offers a forum where the President, along with other national leaders as well as ordinary citizens, debate issues relating to the state of the nation, the state of local government and national unity. Rwanda has registered tremendous political and socio-economic transformation over the past 21 years, largely because in the aftermath of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, Rwandans made tough choices that have allowed them to rebuild the nation. When the 12th National Dialogue Council under the theme Common Vision, New Momentum concluded last December, there was a resolve to work harder and smarter and to sustain policies and action that help Rwanda recover from the devastation of the 1994 genocide. Ivan Magwene, Rise and Shine Rwanda.
The National Dialogue. So this is the 13th. This is the 13th. I'll always do that, by the way.
Right.
It's just a pace.
Okay.
But this is the 13th edition, and it's happening next week.
Yes.
Yes. So the first thing I want to ask you, what happened? Let's look back. Let's take a look back at the one that happened last year, the 12th edition. What were some of the highlights of that national dialogue?
Of course, for the national dialogue, for people out there, I know it's always a moment that people are waiting for, because this is the only platform that brings together the civil society, the government leaders, and even people get to call in. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are always waiting for the national dialogue to talk about certain issues affecting their daily lives or the country at large. Well, looking at the highlights from the last dialogue, national dialogue, well, it came at a period I remember very clearly, that it came at a period where Rwanda had also faced a problem where, you know, BBC had also released the Untold Story. Those were some of the key questions in the national dialogue. We saw, you know, a lot of criticism coming and stopping the BBC from working around here. So it came even at a time when, of course, we had we had commemorated the 21st anniversary after the genocide. So, I mean, it came at a time when, you know, a lot had been going. 20th? No, yes.
This is the 20th.
Yes, 20th, exactly. So some of the key resolutions passed on after the meeting were to take appropriate measures on the revision of Gacaca judgments, and the others were to put in place additional mechanisms to fight genocide, deny and educate people about the genocide, involve society in dealing with trauma cases, and also, you know, these resolutions were categorized into the 4 pillars of government programs that include economical, social, political, you know, governance and welfare of the people. So these were the key highlights of the last Mushyikirano in December 2014. So a lot to expect from this Mushyikirano as we go on the table to see if some of these have been well adopted, and if some have been implemented as we, of course, adopt some new resolutions for the next year.
So during the national dialogue, we'll also get to look back and see if we've been able to accomplish some of the goals that they had set last year.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, I think if some of the key main focus for last year was also making sure that you know, there's this evaluation of the set goals by leaders in accordance to what they can actually do handle on the ground, because some were saying maybe sometimes, you know, you find that people have really set high goals in certain districts but they can't really achieve them. So it's just the same way as we're talking about these kind of resolutions, we need to calm down, because this is a very big event and it's a very big ceremony that we always have once a year. So we really need to make sure that some of these kind of resolutions that are even affecting people daily lives need to be implemented before the president sits another set of goals comes in with another new resolutions for the next year.
So speaking of goals, at least now in terms of topics, what are we to expect during this next week's national dialogue?
Good question. Well, some of the when I was reading some articles from the Prime Minister's office, some of the media releases, I saw that some of the focus also would be, you know, this year we adopted the new Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So it will be also a platform for Rwanda, you know, to formally now pass on between the civil society and the government leaders to make people understand them clearly, and also, you know, be able to implement them and also adopt them in a sense that everyone understands what these SDGs mean to our country and to the rest of the globe, and work towards achieving these SDGs. So a part of that I'll be, you know, looking at it, but also maybe I'm predicting something, because we are engaging in a political year that I think will be a very, very busy year for our home politics, because, you know, a lot of we're expecting the elections, and I'm pretty sure, you know, as already released right now, you know, on the 17th we have the referendum. So
is it the 17th or the 18th?
No, we have the 17th for the diaspora, and then we have the 18th for the locals around here.
Perfect.
So I mean, it's very important decision, important time, and I think, well, Mushyikirano, I think it's something that I'm predicting. Maybe it's something that we need to discuss. So because
definitely,
not only forgetting that in a few years from now we'll be having the presidential and parliamentary elections. So these are very big decisions that are going to affect our nation. And if our nation needs to talk about it, I think this is also the right time to talk about that.
And I know for sure you're going to be there next week to give us a report, right?
Of course, I'll be there.
All right, thank you, Ivan.
All right. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Yves Shumbusho is up next with business news.
unbelievable, but what you see is what you pay.
Business stories making headlines today. Regional governments should take advantage of automation across the East African community stock markets to fast-track the integration of the bloc's exchange. The call was made by Capital Market Stockholders Consultative Meeting in Kigali. The meeting also discussed the terms of reference and viewed progress on the implementation of the East African Capital Markets Infrastructure Integration Project that were presented by the East African Community's Financial Sector Development and Regionalization Project and the system's Pakistani vendors Intotech Limited. Jean-Paul Nyiribakwe, the Youth Entrepreneurship Training Program Coordinator, said that the reluctance by government, actually by banks, to fund young entrepreneurs is affecting efforts geared at reducing youth unemployment. Mr. Nyiribakwe added that though they invited over 6 banks, only Koje Bank turned up. Clearly, that was the first sign that some banks were not ready to invest in youth-run businesses while addressing 100 of youth who competed at a 6-month entrepreneurship training course in Kigali. He, however, urged that the youth to be resilient to thrive in today's competitive business environment. And in regional business news, financial markets regulators have summoned the chief financial officers of the listed firms in regulation to recent allegations of companies faking financial accounts. The Capital Markets Authority and the Institute of Certified Public Accountants addressed issues related to the accountancy profession and the auditors and the ICPAK's role in protecting public interest in relation to recent allegation of companies faking accounts. The Institute Certified Public Accountants in Kenya Chief Executive Patrick Ngumi pointed out that fraudulent accounting is a national disaster in Kenya, just as corruption has been declared. You're now up to date with business headlines. Sports news coming in just a minute with Moses Vilikunzira.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. I am Moses Vilikunzira. Starting with local Rari. Rari, the mid-Korean, attract over 20 drivers. Over 20 crews from Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda are expected to compete in the upcoming 32nd edition of Rari, the mid-Korean, that will take place from December 11 to 12 in Nyamata, Bugesera district. The two-day event will have tricky sections like sharp corners, fast tracks, and will be 70% close load. Now in regional football, Sierra Leone cleared to host international matches. Sierra Leone can again host international matches now that the country is free of Ebola. The Confederation of African Federation had banned Sierra Leone from hosting matches upon the recommendation of the World Health Organization. But the ban, which took effect in August 2014, has now been lifted following the end of Ebola epidemic in the West African country. CAF told the Sierra Leone Football Association by letter on 6th of December. And onto UEFA Champions League. Louis van Gaal's side out of the Champions League as Naldo netted twice to send Germany through in a dramatic night. Manchester United were eliminated from the Champions League in a dramatic fashion by a late loss at Wolfsburg on Tuesday. Goals from Anthony Martial and Joshua on goal were not enough as they lost 3-2 at Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg defender Naldo scored twice to send United in Europa League. Paul Scholes admitted he was not surprised to see Manchester United crash out of the Champions League because they have been poor in every match they played. He said that United look like an average team, and with an average team, you get average performances, despite Van Gaal spending more than £250 million in his 18-month tenure.
Oh, well, Moses, I have to say this. Now, on to, of course, the Cristiano Ronaldo. The man himself breaking the records. I mean, he keeps breaking the records. How was his performance with the game at Real Madrid?
It was a pure performance. I mean, Real Madrid trust Malmo, a piece.
I mean, this man is breaking records close to the Ballon d'Or now.
Yeah, and he's proving that he's going to be a challenger. And on Tuesday, I mean, when they played that match, the first, he scored a goal when it was 3-0. It was 2-0, then he made it 3-0. And then he scored and scored and scored. He scored 4 goals in the game, while Benzema scored the other 3 goals. And, Ronaldo, the way he scores, he broke a record of scoring 11 goals in the group stages. That's the only record. No one has ever done that in the world. And he set also a record in European matches with 88 goals so far in his career. I mean, it's impressive. And he scored, and he kept scoring. And, it was a beautiful game to watch.
Well, of course, not a very good news for the Manchester United fans. First, I quote, Michael Owen believes there should be huge questions raised over the future of the Manchester United boss, Louis van Gaal, following his side's elimination from the Champions League.
Yeah.
Quite history made, Manchester losing it from the group stages.
After losing Sir Alex Ferguson, we've seen Manchester United going down and down and down.
So the mighty has fallen.
Yeah, despite the investment they have made. They brought in this guy they got from Everton, David Moyes. They got in David Moyes. David Moyes only purchase was only Marouane Fellaini for about £27.5 million. And then he was sacked. Actually, he didn't even finish the season because Giggs took over at the last few matches of the season. And then they brought in the most anticipated coach, the most known coach. Van Gaal coached Barcelona, Bayern Munich. He coached AZ Alkmaar. He coached Ajax Amsterdam. And he has 2 Champions League as a manager. Now, when he came in Manchester United, everyone was dreaming to see the Manchester, to bring back that fear factor of Sir Alex Ferguson, to bring that fear factor of Sir Bobby Charlton. The Manchester United everyone sees and believe in. But when you see the result for the last 18 months when he is there, it's really not promising.
Now, let me ask you this question. Here is a manager that is clearly outstanding, brings in a squad that is worth 280. Those are in sales. Brings in such kind of players, quality players, strong squad, but no big results, getting worse every day. What could be the reason behind Manchester United's failure?
What I believe is when Van Gaal came in, he wanted to prove the whole world that he's different from Sir Alex Ferguson. And because when Moyes came in, he wanted to actually implicate some of the qualities that Ferguson had. And, he came, he stepped his authority there. He said, I need players. They gave him more than £250 million. He sold players like Nani, Zanujad, Chicharito. He let players like Patrick Evra go. Nemanja Vidic also went. People like Ferdinand retired. People like Scholes went. Giggs also went.
So Manchester completely was a new fear factor.
They lost the fear factor. They lost the authority, and they lost also the confidence, because you need those top quality players to be there and hold that confidence, hold that team. And
so money is missing its veterans.
Of course, because the only player they have who understand Manchester United is Michael Carrick and Wayne Rooney
and Vidic, of course.
Vidic is no longer in Manchester United.
No, I'm saying he used to understand money.
He used to understand, of course. That's why you see people who are criticizing Van Gaal the most. It's not the fans. The fans are criticizing him, of course, but when you look at scores, when you look at Gary Neville before he left to join Valencia as senior manager, when you look at Ferdinand, you look Owen, he played in Manchester in 2009 to 2012, and when you see them criticizing Van Gaal, you know there's something wrong. They understand Manchester than anybody, because they've been there, they've played, Scholes in particular, played his whole career there, and Van Gaal, it's time to every time he's saying, I know we are improving, we are passing the ball better, we are defending, but when you see the game they played against Wolfsburg, and Wolfsburg knew that they are going to beat Manchester United. Because if you see the interview that Schule said before the game that these guys, these English people who consider themselves the best, they're going to knock them out of the Champions League because they had a destiny in their hands. Win the game and go through. And that's what happened.
And indeed, they beat Man United. And of course, it's not been a good season for Man U fans and Chelsea fans. But we, hope is still there. The league is still continuing. We hope to see more. But for these group stages, I think it's very sad news for Manchester United
and
fans.
For the English games also. Because
course.
now England might lose one spot in Champions League coming up next season.
All right.
And that can be a shock.
There you had it from Moses. Local and international news coming up just next in a few minutes.
It's unbelievable, but what you see is what you pay.
Let's take a look now at news-making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
President Paul Kagame has called for a referendum on the revised constitution. According to resolutions from the cabinet meeting, the cabinet set December 17th as the date on which Rwandans in the diaspora will vote on the revised constitution, while those inside the country will go to the polls on December 18th. The 2003 constitution was recently revised by both chambers of parliament after the lawmakers received petitions from more than 3.7 million adult Rwandans, about 60% of voters imploring them to initiate a constitution amendment process to weave presidential term limits from the Supreme Court. This, the petition said, would make President Kagame eligible to stand for elections come 2017 when his second term comes to an end.
The Rwandan community in the U.S. converged in Arlington, Virginia to deliberate on ways through which they scale up their participation in Rwanda's development. The leadership retreat discussed how to strengthen cooperation between the Rwandan embassy in the U.S. and the Rwandan diaspora community in a bid to bring about collective and equal participation in national matters as well as that of compatriots back in Rwanda.
And in regional news, South African Olympian athlete Oscar Pistorius has been granted bail while he awaits sentence for murdering his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp in 2013. Judges charged his conviction from manslaughter to murder last week. He has already served 1 year in prison. Pistorius now faces a minimum sentence of 15 years imprisonment if he fails in a bid to overturn his conviction. He intends to mount an appeal at the highest court in South Africa, the Constitution Court.
And in international news, Pentagon have warned Donald Trump's anti-Muslim rhetoric undermining the U.S. national security by boosting the Islamic State group. The leading Republican presidential candidate said that Muslims should be banned from entering the U.S. in the wake of the deadly California attacks. But Pentagon Press Secretary Peter Cook said such talk blusters ISIL's narrative, referring to IS, and there have been a global outcry since Mr. Trump made his remarks.
Well, still a lot of drama going on for Mr. Trump.
It will never end.
You know, something I realized is that Mr. Trump's speeches in the first four, they were really entertaining, but as time goes on, they're beginning to be really scary for me. So
yes, and it's insulting, actually.
All right, this is the moment that everyone waits for. We take a look at what's happening in lifestyle and what's hot right now in our daily debate section, hot topics, with, of course, our very own Sherry Uwase. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's now time for your lifestyle update. I am Sherry Uwase. The Bonds Challenge is coming to the climax, and last week the last finalist for week 7 was chosen. Now we get to see he goes to Ibiza now in this coming week. But first, let's take a look at how the challenge went for most of the finalists. Take a look.
Lovely lady who is the winner of the final week, which is week 7. So just begin by telling us your name.
My name's Amanda. Yeah, that's me. So I feel really happy being in this. It's like you're in this Jameson Bond world. You understand what I mean? Yeah.
So we wish you all the best. Congratulations for making
Thank you
it
very
tonight.
much. Thank you
And
very
hopefully,
much.
I hope you're going to have
I hope
better
it
chances.
too. I hope it too.
We wish you the best. Maybe you can get to go to Ibiza.
Oh my God, I will take you.
I'll remember that. I'll hold
Definitely.
you on that. I'll hold that. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
yewe bwa mbere numvaga biteye ubwoba gusa ariko muri ubwo kintu it's a game nyine gukomeza ugomba kumva ko ari umukino kugira ngo ubwoba bubashe kuba bwashira ko ubigize ibintu bya gari ushobora gusaka I joined this competition when I started the whole competition. It was kind of fun. I liked it. When I was told what ahead and the things that are ahead,
We are facing challenges, hard challenges, but the help of God
ikintu cyose yari ubwa mbere kigira imbogamizi hari igihe ureba ibintu ukagutunga ariko twaragerageje biciyemo ubwa mbere ubwa kabiri ugize ubwoba ugiye ahantu bakubwira ngo hari ahantu ugeze mu buryo bigutunga
Finally, we've come to an end.
Finally, we've come to an end.
And they're going to Ibiza.
No, not they are going to Ibiza. Only one person has
Oh
to
yeah,
go.
one person is going to Ibiza.
Yeah.
So now, the last time we checked, the challenges had reached challenge 5. It was now the 5th. Now the 6th and the 7th
Have happened also.
have happened,
Yes.
and the winners have been declared.
Yes. So we have 7 people for each week who are going to be competing to go to Ibiza. So we're going to go through the challenge now.
So the winners from challenge 1 up to 7 are going to now participate in another challenge
Yeah.
that is going to determine only one winner.
One winner.
Do we know what that challenge is?
We don't know. That's why
Not
we
yet.
have to
I
wait
wonder
up
what
and
it's going to
see.
be. Can you anticipate? What are your thoughts?
I don't know, but I don't know if it's going to be like a grand finale, like a real event. That's my, that's probably my suspicion.
Uh-huh.
Or it could also be just another challenge, like what they went through.
And if it was, in case it is a challenge, what do you think would happen?
I just think it has to be. Of course, it can't be the same thing because all of them have gone through the same challenge. So it has to be something equally IQ. It has to challenge your IQ. It has to make you move fast and more even about the movie, the Spectrum movie.
So people have to be very knowledgeable about
very,
that.
very knowledgeable, and not just that one, but even all the other James Bond movies.
Okay, so did you speak to any of the
Yes, I
finalists?
did. I did.
And
speak
what
to them.
what were their thoughts?
Their thoughts was, most of them when they got into the challenge, they really didn't know what they were doing because it was just people out drinking with your friends or whatever reason you're there, and then you end up getting this card, and then you know that now you're in a challenge. So for most of them, it was just a game. It was fun, and they're like, yeah, we're waiting for the finals, but we don't know. It's just a game. We just want to be part of it. So
Have they ever heard of Ibiza?
they
Because
have.
then it would be more than a challenge. It would be like life.
They have. They definitely have. Even if you haven't heard about it, they're telling you might go to Ibiza, so you just go to the internet and Google it. So, yeah, it's in
I'm so
Spain.
disappointed in how they're not excited.
They are excited. They are excited, but they don't really want to count on it because they might make it or not, and it's just a game at the end of
I
the
mean,
day.
that's the
By the
beauty
way-
of a challenge. You never know whether you're gonna make it or not, but still, you put everything you have. Then they're just like, oh, it's just a game.
It's just a game. Most of them are like, it's just a game. But of course, they're excited. I met this one lady though. She was so excited. She's actually the one. She's the only lady, and she's the one who topped up week 7. And wow, she's very excited.
Now that's
She's
the
very
one.
excited.
She knows what she's getting herself into.
Yeah.
Or what is awaiting her.
Hopefully. And did I mention that they are supposed to, when they get the prize to Ibiza, you're supposed to take a +1, so it's not just for you.
Even better.
Yeah, so I made sure I befriended most of them, just in case. Just in case they run out of options.
You know, they're like, oh yeah, who's the other girl that came to interview us?
Yes.
Sherry, yes.
Yes,
We better call her.
and I had to say it on national television.
But you're going to be there for the final.
I'm
and
going to
you'll
be
let
there
us
for
know.
the finals, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
All right, do not go away. I'll be right back with our hot topic. Welcome back, and it's that hot topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine Rwanda team, we have been up and about gathering everything that you need to know about what's happening here and abroad, from what's trending on Twitter to the debates in your local cafe. So we've got it all for you right here, right now. And today we're just going to discuss this one topic. 2 Maasai herdsmen have been charged after allegedly poisoning a famous pride of lions in Narok, which is in southern West Kenya. Wildlife that was reported by somebody who works in the Wildlife Association. Now, Simendei Naururi and Kulangash Toposat reportedly dosed a cow carcass with poison at the Masai Mara Game Reserve. 8 lions are being treated for poisoning. 2 others were killed, but at least 1 was not from the pride. The lions are thought to have killed 3 of the herdsmen's cows when they entered the reserve. The Kenyan Wildlife Service warned that the other animals might have been affected as well. Now, let me just explain this, yeah? So, the wildlife, which is located in southwest Kenya, has a group of lions, which they call the pride. Now, these lions have been eating people's cows.
Maasai cows.
Yeah, Maasai cows. And you know how Maasai men feel about their cows? Actually, they usually say, this is what Maasai believe, that all cows in the world are theirs.
Oh.
Yes, they believe all cows in the world are theirs, and actually all land is for their cows. That means they own the world. Actually, most of the time you'll just see these guys moving randomly with their cows until the police comes and tells them, this is a city, it has cars, it has people moving for different reasons, please take, and they, anyway, that's a story for another day. But these cows now, I mean, these lions started eating their cows, and they decided to poison the lions. And so far, 8 of them have been affected, and the wildlife is very upset about this. I find this very funny because how do you tell a Maasai that it's okay to have a lion eat your cow? Not even just them, but imagine, and Moses asked me this before, that like if somebody came and just, what would you choose, your cow or your lion? Obviously, my cow, because a cow gives milk, it gives everything. And a lion, it would actually want to eat me. So
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is the economy of the country. You know, it brings in tourists, it brings so many things. Yes, so let me,
It is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But they're very smart. At least they didn't actually kill. Okay, they couldn't be able to kill the lions. They thought, you know what, these things are going to eat us. So they thought in such a smart way in which they can get rid of these lions. So they poisoned them.
Yeah.
It's pretty smart. But at the same time, you know, I feel bad for them. I wish, you know, the Kenya Wild Service could just, you know, find a way in which they could keep the lions away from the cows so that they can come to understand. Because this is also it's their land, first of all. And also, second, I mean, they also deserve to be living in peace, and their cows don't need to be eaten by the lions. So they should come to an understanding.
Right.
Oh well, so bad that of course, I think if you're talking about lions, Rwanda knows exactly what it takes to have a lion. We had to ship in lions from South Africa to have them at Akagera National Park. So for me, 8 lions to be in danger right now, it's a very big issue. I think what maybe could be done by the Kenya Wildlife Conservation Center would be at least making sure that they build a wall, just as the national park here is right now. So they have a wall around the national park so that, you know, animals cannot cross to the people's, you know, houses and, you know, start even gardens and farms so that they can start destroying their property. Maybe so sad because, again, I understand the Maasais.
Right.
Maasais with their cows are very serious. Just as you said, recently we had a story of how they were using cricket to, you know, to raise awareness and protect the rhinos in the Masai Mara National Park. So, well, it's so sad. It's a very sad story, and I hope these lions get better. But more especially, I think it's a very big lesson for the Kenyan Wildlife Authority to look into the details and make sure they have at least something that divides the society from the national park. At least something that makes sure that people are both safe on their property and the animals are very safe, because we don't want to hear animals again dying because people are killing them.
Yeah.
To me, he just mentioned it. You know, these lions could even eat a person if they would find a person around there. You know, they eat.
If they can find
They
a
eat
cow,
anything.
they can find somebody.
Even
if
in
they find a
current.
kid or anybody, they can eat anything they find
Okay,
around.
humans is
lion.
not very likely, but usually the animals around there, even in the current national park, I mean, it used to eat the warthogs around.
Oh wow, that's
So
very deadly.
even dogs. Yeah.
And again, I would recommend that the Kenyan Wild Service Authority to build something that differentiates the park and the people, and again to also teach the Maasai community, because they know them. They believe that their cows are their first priority. You cannot bring lions in front of their cows, and they have to explain to them, have meeting with them, and educate them that the importance of the country having lions in the country as a country's economy. And also, in the case of those circumstances, they also should also pay those people's cow if the cows are eaten, and then someone kills a lion because he wants to protect his property. So there should be an understanding between them. And again, everybody need to know that it's very important to fight for every animal's life. A lion deserves to live, and a cow deserves to live. And Maasai also deserve peace and respect also. And the government also understand the importance of the two. I believe this is going to be time when the government is going to sit and understand and know how to do, so this does never happen again in future.
Yeah, and just to back up what Ivan said, you know, they need to be, I think, more security measures on how to take care of the wildlife and how to take care of people's property. Because first of all, even where this national park is located in Narok, it's the landscape there is very facilitating for the wildlife. And also maybe
It's a savanna vegetation.
yeah, it's savanna vegetation, yeah. And maybe these Maasais, of course, Maasais are just always roaming around with their cows and you know and everything and their goats. So they also probably need to also set a pace. There is this line that you can't cross, because at the same time these parks are usually so big. Maybe fencing, fencing them could also mean it might not end up being very. It couldn't end up being a successful measure, you know, security-wise. But then, I don't know. There needs to be an understanding.
Maybe his point was, maybe I feel like he had a very good point over there, because I'm thinking, for example, if you look at Kenya national parks and if you compare them to our national parks are pretty much very small.
Very small.
So maybe what could be done, I think, could be about awareness. You know, going into the communities. And maybe putting up its awareness, make people understand why this is very important and why they have to protect of course, the endangered species, and make sure that they understand the whole value behind tourism. Engage them also, because sometimes these people that live next to the parks don't even visit them, you know. But you need to engage them at least once in a while, take them inside and, you know, put them on the cars, move them around, let them enjoy part of what they are surrounded with. Raise awareness and also make sure that the security measures, the game rangers are ready to work on everything to make sure that both the people and the animals are all living in peace.
Right. And can I just give you guys a story about a lion?
Yes.
So there's a time where I lived in Kenya for quite some time. And where I was staying, it was actually next to a park. So one time they had to announce that there's this lion on the loose, actually a lioness. So there was no one. You see, the daytime you'd see people around 10, nobody on the streets because until they found the lion. So I'm just imagine if I was just roaming around and then you meet a lion there.
And then a lioness. But lioness are always the worst.
Yeah,
like they're so mean. Prey. Yes.
Yeah.
A lioness, if they saw a man, be like, hello, I'm lioness. Anyways.
So you can imagine, so I'm just trying to imagine that, you know, there has to be that kind of awareness. Like as we were told, there's a lioness on the loose. So a Maasai has to be told, you know what, you can only go this far.
I know, even
but even they have pride and they're like, you know what, this is our land, we are comfortable here, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know, what a foreign animal has come, actually not even a foreign animal, a lion? What is a lion going to give you? You know, that's what they're thinking.
And
so they just have to come to an understanding.
Yeah, and maybe just the understanding of, you know, this is our land, we can move around anyhow, but in
but
real life,
educate them and show them,
yeah,
you know, before a lion actually eats a person, then it will be trouble.
And remember, Maasais also, part of their tradition was killing a lion before you became a man. So for them, lions are not big issues. Their cows are big issues. You know, you have to protect them. So for them, actually killing a lion is just like slap, and then it's done.
It's like killing a rat.
Yeah, but it's not like that anymore.
It's not like that, because these days I'm pretty sure they do really understand. Yeah, that used to be part of their tradition, but I'm so in love with the way they think these days. So perfect.
All right. So let us wrap it up right there, and I'll be back tomorrow with more hot topics. For now, let's stay tuned.
Don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on Facebook and send us your ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda YouTube page where you can catch all the shows and reports we do. Finally, find us on Instagram, Rise and Shine Rwanda. We'd love to see your pictures, or check out our Rise and Shine Rwanda website, www.riseandshinerwanda.com. Well, that's all the time we have for you today. We love to hear your feedback, and do let us know if you have any ideas for programs. You have been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Yvette Shibusho.
And of course, me, Ivan Magwene. We'll be at same time, same place tomorrow. Do join us then. But for now, from the both of us, and of course the rest of the Rise and Shine team, have a very good day. Goodbye.